Well, we are at 101. We had our first virtual dog barking, which got my two real dogs barking. So what a great way to start. I think about,
Well, I think we should go ahead and get
oops,
started.
and now we've got YouTube, we got this going. So it's always a fun way to start. So we've got, first of all, thank you. It looks like we have quite a few people on. So I really appreciate everyone joining us today. My name is Ben Kaiholtz. I'll be your host, and I'll introduce those you can see on the screen: Kevin and Sue out at Trilogy Lake Frederick, and Juanita just outside Charlotte at Trilogy Lake Norman. I'll introduce them in a second and give them some time to talk about themselves. But we started this webinar series a bit of time ago with the idea of, if you really want to kind of understand whether Trilogy is the right fit, it's really important to understand maybe, what it feels like after you purchase the home. Obviously, the home buying experience is a component of the process people go through, but you're a home buyer for a little while, you're a homeowner for a long time. So I think the experiences that people have and kind of how they viewed that process and ultimately how they experience the community once they move in is really important for us to share. And that takes a little breathing room. So we schedule these times. We've been very blessed to have a number of members that are willing to come forward and kind of share their experiences with us. And we just try to dive a little deeper, our version of long form journalism. So we appreciate everybody coming on today. The folks you'll meet, obviously, I'm Ben, I'm your host. I've worked with or for the Shea family since 2001. I currently am part of the Blue Star Resort and Golf leadership team. Blue Star Resort and Golf is the hospitality provider within Trilogy. So if you think about when you move into the community, obviously Shea builds the homes, and then Blue Star is the group that makes sure the amenities are brought to life. So when we do our best to try to work with the members to make sure we're delivering freedom, wellness, connection, and things that are important to that Trilogy experience. Not on screen, but incredibly important, and you've already seen her playing her role, is Cassidy Nichols. Cassidy is also a longtime Trilogy team member. She came through Trilogy Monarch Dunes in Napomo, California originally, but spent time in Charlotte, has been in Florida, and is now based in Colorado. She's very great, and you'll see her certainly if you're on either the chat or the Q&A function. And then most importantly today, I'm excited to introduce to you Kevin and Sue, who are members and owners within Trilogy at Lake Frederick, which is in kind of northwestern Virginia, not very far from a spot where you can stand in 3 states at the same time if you kind of lean over and touch your hand to the ground. And also Juanita Pipkin, who's just outside Charlotte in a small town called Denver, just at Trilogy Lake Norman. So they're from those two communities, but today is not really regional specific. We're talking about any Trilogy USA. So the experience people have, regardless of whether it's North Carolina, Virginia, California, Arizona, Florida. I'm sure I forgot a couple there along the way, Cassidy. You can chat in on that. So all the places we have, Idaho, all kinds of spots. So anyhow, we'll give them a little room here in a second. Before we dive in, just to give, this is perfect. I had a cheat sheet. It's great. See, I forgot Washington already. So these are all the communities that are currently active within the Trilogy portfolio. You can see that Trilogy Lake Frederick here and Trilogy Lake Norman are called out as where Kevin and Sue and Juanita are from. And then we have some coming soon. So Trilogy of Valor is about to debut just outside of Boise in the Treasure Valley, a little town called Cuna. Trilogy Bickford Ranch, which is just outside of Sacramento in a town called Lincoln, which is kind of just east of Sacramento, kind of up the 80 on the way towards Truckee Tahoe. And then we have Dana Reserve, kind of closer to the Central Coast, kind of East Bayish in there. So, what we're going to talk about today is, like I say, the experience that you have when you move into the community. So, we talk a lot about lifestyle, and none of us really love that term because it's very difficult to kind of pin down. But what we think it means is, for us, trying to provide an environment where our members have the best opportunity to live whatever the best version of their lives is, right? So That means connecting with others. That means doing their own thing. That means a little bit of this and a little bit of that. That means travel, adventure, or just, chilling out with a good book. Hopefully we're providing a great environment to do that. But if you want to stay busy, you can definitely stay busy, which Juanita will give you the rundown on that, as will Kevin and Sue. Kevin hasn't taken the retirement quite as well as he would have hoped to. Juanita's quite active as well, as is Sue. But we do 30 plus lifestyle events each week. Behind me, I've got just one of our sample communities up. The calendar is always packed. We send out a daily digest that kind of gives you the itinerary of what you can do each day. We've got 467 member-led clubs across the country. So and counting. Basically, anytime someone comes up with a new interest, there's a new opportunity for a club. Some of those are local, some of those are multi-community, some are regional. They kind of just some are international. I think Kevin, you might be part of the Trilogy Nights, the chess club that plays internationally. So we have those. We do travel through Explore 360, and we've got, if you're considering moving in, you're among others. We've got, there's whatever there is, 15 or 16 active communities right now, and about 400 new people move in each year to each community. So it always feels like, and it is a very personal journey, but it is shared. Thousands of people are doing it each year across the country. So, okay, that's way more of me than anybody wants. So let's get to the good stuff here. So I'm going to go back, and I think actually, if it's okay, as much as I love PowerPoint decks, I'm going to stop my share so people can see the people on the screen, and I'm going to tee this off properly. So hopefully now someone give me a head nod that we just see Kevin and Sue and myself and Juanita. Is that right? Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to start with an easy one, and I will start with Juanita. And I'd love look, I'm going to have Ishia give me a little bit about your personal story. Where are you from, what your profession was, your children, grandchildren, kind of what was going on in your life when you first started thinking about moving, and I guess more specifically even moving into Trilogy. So we'll start with Juanita, and then we'll go over to Kevin and Sue.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Juanita. I am been here at Trilogy Lake Norman for 3.5 years. I'm married. I have 2 adult children. One actually is living in the Charlotte area. That's kind of how we got here. My other daughter is a PhD student at Cornell. So we never know where she's going to land. So we'll have to wait and see. My prior career was I worked in higher education as an academic advisor and an instructor teaching critical thinking to, I would say, at-risk or underserved and underprepared students, mostly in the fine performing communications arts. Loved it, absolutely loved it. Spent about 30 years in higher education. What else did I do? So when we decided to retire, we decided to move to the Charlotte area, where we're looking at different communities. And I thought a 55 plus, very active community would be good for us because I like to be busy. And, when you're making that transition from career to retirement, you don't want to stop living. You want to use this opportunity to start living and doing the things that you always wanted to do. So we chose to move to Charlotte to, one, be closer to our oldest daughter, and also just to experience some of the things in the lifestyle and get away from, I was living in Michigan, get away from the snow to a warmer climate as well. While I'm here at Trilogy, I'm involved in a ton of things. I'm part of the Pottery Club, and the Pottery Club, well, I guess we can talk about that. Do you want me to talk about that now or a little bit later?
Let's save that a little bit, Juanita. We'll let Kevin know. That's a really great background, and I'm sorry, you've been in the community for how long, you said?
I've been here about 3.5 years, and that's at Trilogy Lake Norman. And I guess the only other thing I wanted to say that in our larger community here in the Charlotte area, I am part of I'm a board president of a nonprofit. And what we do is it's a mobile ballet studio where we provide ballet classes to the lower income communities in the Charlotte area for free. And we also gift them leotards, tights, shoes. We bring the mirrors, we bring the bars and all that to the students so that they have the opportunity to learn dance. And I'm also part of another group that we mentor, my husband and I mentor a group of young people, and they have a scholarship that they give out to a number of different students who are looking to go either to undergrad or grad school. And I read, I'm a scholarship reader and I'm an evaluator for that too.
Well, Anita, that's fun, and I hope that you have connected with Trevor Sunderlage, who's for those not living in Trilogy Lake Norman, is our lifestyle director there, and he and his family have a strong musical theater bent. So maybe if we can help you guys in any way in the work you're doing, I know Trevor would be an advocate for you as well. So, Kevin and Sue, I would love to have you do the same. Can you share a little bit about yourselves, kind of what your professions were, children, grandchildren? I think you were in Loudoun County before you came over to Trilogy, but maybe you can talk a little bit about that. Yeah, let me unmute you there. There you go. It's on your end.
Well, hello, everybody. We're excited for you. I'm sure everybody's watching because they're at a crossroads in their life and they're deciding what their next steps are going to be. So we've all been there. But Sue and I decided to make the change when we became the empty nesters and moved on out to Lake Frederick here in Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. It's beautiful here. We've been here for 6 years. I did most of my growing up in the Pittsburgh suburbs, but I lived a few different places when I was growing up. And Sue grew up in the Springfield, Virginia area primarily, but she was born in Nebraska. We have two children. Both of them live in the area, and that was part of the reason we moved out this way as well. As for me, I'm a retired federal employee. I'm a Marine. I'm a former police officer at the federal level, and I also work part-time for the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. But the largest part of my career was with the Central Intelligence Agency, where I retired from after 29 years of service. And most of my work there has been as a polygraph examiner, and I've gone around to I've done operations in 26 different countries and had a very rewarding career, but somewhat of a harrowing career at times because of some of the challenges that we have around the world. But I'm glad to have made my contribution. So that's my background. Over to Sue.
Well, I was born in Nebraska, and as Kevin said, we lived in Loudoun County for many years, and we were interested in a 55+ community as well. We wanted to stay active, and certainly you stay active here at Lake Frederick. There's plenty to do here. It's great having our children close by. I was a hairstylist for many years, and then once I had children, I stayed at home and raised them until they got a little older. And then I became a teacher assistant at an elementary school and then retired from there, and we moved out here.
And for those, there's probably some folks that are interested in Lake Frederick specifically, and they may know, but for others, like I grew up in Stafford County, and that whole kind of Loudoun County progression, either a little bit to the south or a little bit to the west, that's not uncommon, right? People leave Alexandria, they leave Arlington, they leave kind of the Beltway area, and they come west. So that wasn't a crazy idea in general, was it?
No.
No,
And then,
absolutely not. Many people have followed us out here.
Yes.
I think I think there's I don't want to speak to Michigan snow, but I bet you there's a few people from Michigan that have worked their way south for sure. So, and just as a bit of background, the Mid-Atlantic region was an area that Trilogy really spent a lot of time evaluating and ultimately brought these two communities out. And I think both have been tremendous success, where, there was kind of somewhat an idea for a while that we were largely a Sunbelt group. And I think Washington, Idaho, the Mid-Atlantic are really proving that that's not the case. The idea of Trilogy kind of is a bit borderless. Okay, so I'm going to go back on Kevin and Sue, and I'm just wondering, because there is a bit of like kind of a first day of school thing that happens, right? So you get super excited, you are evaluating the home, you select your home, you build your home, you kind of go all the way to that closing process, and then you're in, right? You have left whatever neighborhood you were in, and now you've got, new neighbors and just kind of kind of a fresh start's the wrong word because it's not really a contrast like that, but it's new, right? So I'm just wondering, Kevin and Sue, did you have the kind of, first day of school jitters? Did you have, what did you experience when you first came in, and kind of how did you navigate your early time in the community?
I would say we kind of had a unique arrival here because there was an older part of the community when we moved in, and they accepted us early on, even before we moved in. So we were actually attending events and activities before we moved in. So it probably gave us a softer landing than some, but certainly I think it's perfectly natural to have some level of anxiety. But what people would find is it's just a welcoming community. You will naturally click with people that are moving in at the same time, because obviously the homes are being built in certain areas at certain times. So we actually have groups that form in each individual sector, and that's where you'll see people sitting outside having their little wine parties once a week, literally right in the middle of the street sometimes. And so you first get over that anxiety because you're amongst other people that are going through the same thing, and you naturally click together, and then you learn more about what's available in the larger community, and that just gets you involved even more.
Yeah, it's interesting. Juanita, you and your husband had changed, zip code, changed lots of things. How were you feeling when you first moved in?
I was so excited.
I like that.
The day we actually, we closed, we went over to the Foundry, which is the restaurant here in the Twin Mills Club, and it was meet and greet. So meet and greet is there's just a group of homeowners here, and like every Monday they just get together, and anybody who's new to the community, or they just meet with them and talk to them and welcome them to the community. And there's coffee and cookies. So I was sitting eating in the Foundry, and somebody came over and said, "Are you new?" And they said, "Oh, you got to come to meet and greet." So they physically took us out of the Foundry to the meet and greet, which was in the kitchen. And so I met a bunch of people, and ironically, they were wearing name tags, and they said, "Oh, where are you from?" And I said, "Michigan was our last stop." And this woman screamed because she was new and she was from Michigan too. And she said, "Oh, she was so happy to see somebody, I guess, from home, so to speak, and the community as well." So I think it was unusually comfortable. You have more or less that, where am I going to put all this stuff that I brought with me? But, in terms of the neighbors, and people were very welcoming. Again, like, everybody was new, and people really want to get to know each other and, talk. So not a problem at all for me.
No, it's interesting. I want to pass it because I think, Sue, one of the clubs you're in has, is not, I don't think by charter necessarily a welcoming group, but I think it is one that really casts a wide net for people to come in.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Yeah.
It's called Ladies of the Lake. It started as a coffee group, and we would just come up to the coffee shop and then sit around and chat with each other. But it's turned into more of a not just talking, but informational for new people that have come to the neighborhood that want to know about doctors and dentists that are close by, and places that you can recommend to eat. And it's a great place to meet new people, and for us that have been here a while to meet the new people that are coming in. And we've even formed monthly trips that we've been taking to different destinations in the area.
Well, I think that's interesting, because there is this kind of, when you move into a new, particularly when you change, where you're living, right? Like, so you've got a new home. Juanita said it, you bring a bunch of stuff with you. You've got maybe chores around the house that need to get done. So you need the really functional, like, hey, do you know a tile guy? Do you know a plumber? Or what? I mean, their homes are new, so maybe that's not the perfect example, but you need folks, right?
Right.
And it's really helpful to have that. At the same time, you want people to bond with, and to kind of make new friends, and you've got neighbors, and I think, Juanita, you might be one example of you definitely dove in on the I'm going to meet some new people and get involved in stuff spectrum. I feel like we have to do the rundown. You're going to come next, Kevin and Sue. So let's just stick to the member-led clubs for now, Juanita, and we will expand out. So let's get the roster here.
Okay. Well, let's see. I'm part of the pottery club, and I didn't do pottery before I got here. So I'm part of the Pottery Club. I'm part of the Barrel Masters, which is the wine club here at, well, I guess at all the Trilogies is a Barrel Masters Club. I actually started the Novel Ideas Book Club because there's a lot of book clubs here at, at Trilogy Lake Norman. What else am I in? The Nubian Experience. The Nubian Experience is a cultural club that shares the African American culture with the community at large. And also Food Talk, which is a group that talks about healthy eating and nutrition. Am I in anything else? I think that might be it. I can't remember. I think that's probably it. Yeah.
Well, that's a good start. And I'm going to have, and because I want to come back around too on yours, Juanita, to come, because I know you do some things outside the community as well, like you've talked about. Kevin and Sue. Kevin, you've got a bit of like a three-legged stool going, I think, between kind of volunteerism and your work with us actually as an ambassador, and then the clubs you participate in. Can you take us through kind of where you're spending your time these days and the groups you're involved in?
Okay, you just want my member-led groups right now, or you want me to do the other stuff?
Don't cheat the people, Kevin. Give them what they want. We want the whole rundown.
Yeah, none of those legs are broken yet. Maybe they need to. I don't know. But the fortunate thing I'll say is I'm not doing anything I don't enjoy. That's the big thing here. And once you make the transition, you're in the driver's seat. You can do as much or as little as you want. We have over 50 clubs here at Trilogy Lake Frederick. So as far as member-led clubs that I'm involved with, I've been involved with the billiards club, the poker club, the chess club. As Ben mentioned earlier, we have a local chess club that we actually physically meet, and our leader, who actually before he came here instructed school students on how to play chess, he now instructs us, and he does a little lesson, and then we break down and we get into groups, we play chess. But as Ben mentioned, we are playing online at chess.com. We play international tournaments. Right now, they've finagled me to play in this one tournament, and it just so happens they're hinging on me to win these two games. So no pressure there. And then beyond that, the big thing I'm involved with is what's called the Lake Frederick Marine Foundation. And via that organization, we promote the history and traditions of the Marine Corps. We have taken our folks took a busload of 57 people down to the National Marine Corps Museum. We've coordinated visits to parades at Marine Barracks 8th and I. We're in the process of coordinating a visit to a parade that's on a separate night at the Iwo Jima Memorial. But our big event is the Marine Corps Birthday Ball, which is every year. In 2019, we had 178 people there. We're going for 180 this year. It's a big event, black tie affair, ceremonious event that we really enjoy. And I just wanted to say that these clubs have also allowed me to branch out into other activities that are volunteer kind of outside the community. So of course, the Marine Corps has the Toys for Tots program. So I'm the coordinator here at Lake Frederick, but we feed into a larger regional organization. And so it's almost like a club opportunity for other people who lived here, because I've gotten other people to volunteer, and they come out to the big distribution center and they help us out there. So it's not just me involved with that activity. And then one of my other part-time jobs is I work at a federal canine training facility, and I have also advertised and recruited people from the community to help participate in that as well. So while not clubs on campus, there are things that people can do, and they're light lifting, they're fun, and it's great to see other people get involved as well. So, and then I mentioned earlier that I'm retired from the CIA, and I give them one day a week and go in and do that. That way I get to continue to do what I enjoyed and get to take some of my expertise back to help some of the younger folks there.
So I feel like in a different version of this webinar, we would be asking what it's like to be married to a person who implements polygraph tests, but we'll come back to that. There's got to be some unique stories there. So
I always know what I'm getting for Christmas.
I wanted to pull up on the screen while you were chatting. I was seeing some folks in, I think either the Q&A or the chat function on Zoom just ask kind of, hey, look, how are these clubs organized? And Also, just kind of, you were talking about some of the clubs you're involved in. So this is actually from Trilogy Lake Frederick. Those of you who can see the screen, and I was just going through. It took me a while to even get through all the clubs. You're not kidding. There are, this is just one community's worth. There's a lot in here. And there was a question about kind of how these are formed and how they're handled. So, each of these clubs, basically, there's My Trilogy Life is the website I'm on right now, which is as a resident in the community. This is kind of the kind of homepage for the experience, and there's all kinds of things in there. One of which is clubs. Another is, this is where we have our events. We do live stream content across the network that's in broadcast. There's a bulletin section where you can share kind of just interests, ideas. We were talking about like kind of suppliers earlier. There's news. There's all kinds of kind of things. Basically, all the stuff you need in the community. And then each of these clubs is initiated by a member in the community. So I don't know Anita, maybe you do, Kevin or Sue, but Anita runs the Antiques Club. And then Anita can come on here. She can have discussions. She can kind of list her description, what she does. She adds photos. She has her contact information on here, discussion. She can do an FAQ board, et cetera. So, and again, I think to both, really all three of the folks on the call, like the communities do their best to kind of support people as they want to explore these ideas. But ultimately, like, look, we're kind of agnostic as to whether it takes place at the club or not at the club, or organized through the club or not at the club. We just want people to connect with others that have kind of the same things on their mind. Which actually, so Sue, I'd like for you to give your rundown, because we've talked a little bit about other people's clubs, but you do, I think you've got a lot of fitness in yours as well. Can you take us through the clubs you're involved in and what you do? Oops, I'm going to go on here. Yeah, get you off on mute there, Sue, if you don't mind. Oops, we're still not getting you, Kev.
All right, we got it.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Pickleball is a very, very popular sport here at Lake Frederick, and the sport is growing by the day. So we play pickleball. I do women's water volleyball, which is one of the more fun fitness activities that I do. It's like you're not even getting exercise, but you are. And it's a lot of laughs. We don't take it real serious, so it's a fun time. I've tried a drum beats class, which is really different, but a lot of fun. You actually play drumsticks on a yoga ball and you do squats and move around. So that's fun. I've done cooking club. There's a game club here that it used to be called game club because you could bring a game and play it with other people, but it's transitioned into just a card club. There's Ladies of the Lake, of course, which is a great way to meet people. We've started a couples bunco group here and a ladies bunco group here, which are a lot of fun to do. There's a Bible study that I attend that meets in the spring and the fall. That is a member-led Bible study. I've done line dancing classes as well. They are a lot of fun, and it really tests your coordination skills.
Certainly would test mine. I agree with you there, Sue. Not sure if I could be that coordinated. I wanted to show while you were chatting, because there's a lot of, fitness is a lot of the things we do, right? Just various opportunities for people to kind of challenge themselves. And here's just an event. Here's today. So again, I'm just an MTL for people who haven't moved in yet. And by the way, if someone's curious about the community and wants to get a sense of, oh, hey, look, I want to understand what my specific community does, you can always just go to mytrilogylife.com. I'll kind of do the path here. Just give me a little room, my member partners here. You can request guest access. So anybody who's on this webinar who would like to kind of see what's actually happening in the community they might be interested in, all you do is request guest access here, and you'll get a username and login, so you can go in and see Lake Frederick or Lake Norman or Tale or wherever you're interested, and you can see all the things that are happening. Here's Thursday today. It looks like, to your point, there's lots going on, Sue. There's an art gallery expedition today. There was yoga, integrative movement. There was a thyroid health broadcast, women's water volleyball. Oh, you're not missing it, are you? Oh no, you're missing your session. And we have a murder mystery dinner that's sold out. Well, we'll get you in the pool. We got men's water volleyball tonight, Kev.
Yeah, okay.
So sorry to go. So, all right. So
Very good.
Juanita, I'm going to go to you for a second. I'm curious, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier. I want to probe on this. When you go to the things you participate in, is it like, oh, hey, look, we've been doing this for years and, I've always been passionate about this? Or is it like, well, I've always wanted to do this, I'm a newbie, can you talk me through it? Or is it like a bit of both? Like, how does that usually end up being, like, in these various clubs?
Well, I think that the clubs are open to everyone. So it doesn't matter your skill level or whatever. You just have to have an interest. Because I know I never did pottery before I came here, and they offered pottery class. So I was doing the pottery class, and then COVID hit right in the middle of that. So I didn't get to finish my 6-week session, but the members of the pottery club actually helped me to learn more about glazes. And they actually finished my training for me, I guess, in the initial classes, I should say, for that. The other, like some of the other clubs I'm a part of, like Food Talk, it was just like, here's this woman who started it. She's taught food and nutrition in school for years. She was very interested in it. And there was just a bunch of us who wanted to know and share and experience a little bit more about healthy living and lifestyles and eating right and healthy. So we're kind of like get together, we share, we get insight from each other and that kind of thing, a lot of science-based information with that club. So you don't have to be an expert at anything, you just have to have an interest and you can kind of show up and do those things. Of course, with the wine club, you don't need a lot of experience to understand what goes on there. So there's a wine tasting and a wine pairing dinners. And I was not a big wine person before. It was good or bad or sweet and dry. And now I'm learning the nuances about what wine is. But I'm more of a foodie anyway. So I like the pairing so I can see what types of wines better pair with the meals that I'm preparing. So I think it's just, I think people are just open. I don't find that, there's any restriction in terms of skill level. Like pickleball, again, is really popular here as well. And I don't play pickleball, but Tuesday I'm going to an intro pickleball clinic that they just put together so that people who want to learn it can learn it. So I think there's always opportunities to learn. I think people are open. You just have to go up and say, hey, I'm interested in this. Or if they have a sign up like they did for the pickleball, clinic, you just sign up for it.
I can see your head nodding, Sue. It sounds like you have the similar experience where it's, and that's my hunch, particularly like pickleball's got an ethos around being welcoming, right? That's kind of part of what pickleball is. Isn't that right? Oops, I'm going to hit you on you're good. Say again, Sue, sorry.
There's always someone that will take the time to explain the game to you and play with you so you can get the experience of playing without feeling pressured and just be able to learn the game.
Well, I was at actually at Trilogy Monarch Dunes on the central coast of California last week, I think. And my wife and I play a little pickleball, like here and there. But we only play with like the same couple people. And I was getting pretty chesty, like, I kind of have this like, figured out. And I'm not sure what flight I would be in a Trilogy pickleball tournament. I was incredibly impressed by the level of play that I was watching at Monarch. And I bet you I went to any of our communities, you'd see the same thing. And beginners too, right? I mean, there's all levels, but
yes,
it's fun to bring people along and, kind of watch that happen. Hey, Cass, I am seeing Cassidy. So for everybody, I'm just going to take a little time out here for our member participants. I'm seeing a lot of action on the chat. Actually, so much it's hard for me to kind of keep track. Sometimes I can look at it out of the corner of my eye. Are there some questions that we've gotten through the chat groups that maybe we should answer for the whole crowd here? Anything that I should touch on? And make sure you're not on mute, Cassidy.
I don't think so. So far, you got one when you demonstrated My Trilogy Life and the opportunity for the guest access. Okay. So that was really great. And then if you want to speak to group homeowner-led clubs across the division or across all Trilogy communities and sharing that we don't just have clubs at a lot of clubs at Lake Norman or Lake Frederick too, that we've got that question.
Oh, that's great. Okay, no, I would love to do this. What I'm going to do is, and just by way of being able to illustrate that, I'll pull up. So um, I've been around for a while, so they give me like a super fancy version of my Trilogy Life, so I can toggle from community to community. So I started on Lake Norman, or excuse me, Lake Frederick, because that's where Kevin and Sue are from. But let's go to the Polo Club. So to give people an idea, the Polo Club is in the Palm Springs area. There's about 600 homes in that community right now. That community will ultimately be about 1,000 homes. And I'm going to go to the clubs here and let's see what we get. And I'm having a little, by the way, all these usually have little photos. I'm not sure. There we go. So I'm having a little loading issue on my computer, but they have, again, I'm running it down here, an art club, basketball, be your best, bug, the beginner's ukulele, which they got bunko, canasta, cat care. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, I know Joette. She's great. Oh, a cat care co-op. That's got to be fun. It makes it easy to go out of town or travel or whatever. They have golf group. Guess who's coming to dinner? Another ukulele. So anyway, so that's one example. And then let's go to kind of, the largest. Let's see. I'll go to the newest and then the most established. So the smallest or newest community by number of closes is probably Summerlin. There's maybe, and that's in Las Vegas. There's maybe 150 to 200 homes closed in Summerlin. So relatively new. That whole community will be about 375 homes. And you can see, I'm starting at the beginning of the alphabet. You've got bike club, book club, culinary, dice games, dominoes, hand and foot, pickleball, photography, poker, golf. So you can see some fewer, but still there's quite a variety, and as people move in. And then if you go to the most established, which is Vistancia was the community started in 2004. It's at about 3,300 homes right now. We'll ultimately end up about 3,400 homes. So a very, very large community in our scale, and they've got, I don't know how many, a whole whack of them. So so the answer to the question behind the question, Cassidy, is we're not cherry picking here. Different communities have different interests and people start different things. I see cribbage here. I don't know how, I love crib. I don't know how many cribbage clubs there are, but all it takes is one, right? Someone will start it and gets it going. So yeah, that is a universal. And again, just to go through so people can, just as a reminder, because I appreciate you bringing that up. I'm glad I went through it. But again, if you just go to mytrilogylife.com, anybody can request guest access for any community and it's instant. You get it as soon as you put your form in, you can get in there and play around. Okay. And Cass,
Awesome.
is that, sorry, go ahead and say again, Cass.
I was going to say, what about the Freedom Boat Club at Lake Norman? We're getting a question about that, and maybe Juanita or Ben, you can speak to that program, which is very different, but a unique aspect of our Trilogy Lake Norman community.
You or me, Juanita? You go.
Okay. Yeah, we do have the Freedom Boat Club here. It's a great opportunity for now. This is something else that I really didn't do before I moved here was I didn't have lake access where I lived, but now that we live here, we took the safety course and on the water course, and now we just are able to reserve boats and take them out, and it's great. Lake Norman is pretty huge. And it makes me really popular with my 30-year-old and her friends. They like to come out on a boat with us. So we're the cool parents that we can take them out on the boat, which is nice. We, basically we just pay for the fill up of the gas. Like, when you do a rental car, you started with this amount of gas, you came back with this amount used, and that's it. So you don't really have to worry about having to maintain the boat, dock the boat, you have to dock the boat, but you don't have to maintain it, winterize it, or anything like that. You just make a reservation, show up at the dock, pick up your boat, and you just take off, which is kind of nice and convenient. So it's a fun time to be out on the boat. They have all different sizes of boats that we have access to, and it's great. Now the lake is a lot busier on the weekend, of course, than during the week. But since most of us are retired, we go out during the week and we kind of have a nice relaxing time out on the lake. So it's great.
Yeah, it's I'm glad you brought that up, Cass, and wanting to, I think it's actually a marriage made in kind of heaven. Freedom Boat Club, built their business model on Lake Norman, which is 520 acres. It's about 10 minutes from the community. It's beautiful. I think I technically a reservoir right by Duke Power, I think is what it is. I'm sure they had a whole bunch, they sell subscriptions of which everyone runs towards Friday afternoon and Saturday. And we came to them to develop our partnership and said, hey, I think, for most of our members, every day is Friday. So, we can probably send you some folks on, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's been really great. So I'm glad you brought that up. And Freedom Boat Club is one example of those. And I'm trying to think, there are other examples where we've done things like this. At Verde River, which is in Arizona, we've partnered with like an outfitting group where we have access to the Verde River. Basically we try to be creative in the things we help bring to life, but it's nice. So, so Kevin, can you talk a little bit about, you have chosen to be, well, both of you and Sue have chosen to be ambassadors for the community. And so you spend, sounds like a day a week doing still some government work. And then you have a lot of volunteerism you do. And then you spend some time working with us as well. Can you just talk through what inspired you to do that, or kind of your journey to becoming an ambassador, or kind of what you take away from it, what you find rewarding? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think one of the reasons we were approached to do this is we're one of the original settlers under Shea here in the Lake Frederick community. So we have a lot of history, and we can talk a lot about what the experience is like here. And that's just it, is I feel very blessed and fortunate to have landed here. I've already kind of highlighted my career, and I certainly had some challenges, and this place brings me peace and comfort. And I just think it's exciting to be able to welcome people, potential buyers, and to share our experience, because I think for anybody, I would love to see them come on board with us, whether it's here or elsewhere, because this is a different phase of life. For some of us, it takes a little more to get used to, but I can tell you that I've had people after I retired, especially when back at work, they said that they've never seen me smile before. So, we got a pretty serious job, and and I think it's, being able to live someplace like this that, has taken some of the pressure off, and that's what retirement is. You get to relax a little bit, enjoy, and so when people come, it gives me an opportunity. I love showing them around, telling them what we do, the things that we get involved with. And one thing I always highlight is I think we're actually cited in an article in a newspaper where we made the statement that we lived in Ashburn, Virginia for 17 years. And in 3 months of living here, we made more personal relationships than we did living 17 years in Loudoun County. And
wow. It's a pretty, I love that. And full disclosure, I'm a true believer. Like, I love it when our communities work and when people have the experience you have, Kevin and Sue. And you mentioned that, Kevin. You also talked about, like, you haven't viewed this as, hey, I'm just going to do less. It's just, you've been incredibly more selective on where you invest your time, right? It's not about not doing anything. It's just about doing the things that are really you're passionate about, right?
Yeah, I'm real busy, but as I said earlier, I'm not doing anything I don't enjoy doing. Some people walk away from work and they never look back. I have a friend here who says that his goal is to be retired as many years as he worked, and he has no desire to do anything other than to some of the clubs here, and that's all well and fine. But for me, I've fortunate to have this thing with the canines. I never disliked the work I did before, so I do that one day a week, and I enjoy doing the ambassadors. And then I have all these clubs. These are all like chess. I've played chess all my life, not as much as I play it now, but that's the other thing this lets you do. It lets you do things that maybe you've put on hold or have not been as involved with during your working life.
Juanita, you flex some of those same muscles too, right? You had things that you were inspired by your career that you've kind of have taken a different form in the community, right?
Yes, but I think the interesting thing is, like Ben mentioned, is that, retirement will look different for everyone. It's just doing what it is that you want to do. And I think that's now you have the opportunity to do whatever you want to do. But I've always loved people. I love people. I love young people in particular. They keep you on your toes. And I like them a little rough around the edges. Like they don't have to be like straight laced, straight A students. They can be a little challenging, but I think it's just nice to be able to offer them a little bit more of our seasoned wisdom. And some of the young people that we mentor, they're in their 30s, because a lot of them in their 20s, they're not ready for that yet. But when they're a little bit more advanced in their careers, it's nice that they want to talk to someone who's a little bit older, who's been around the block a little bit, and can offer them some real life advice. And they give us fashion advice. Because they don't want us to look a certain way. They don't want us to look old, that kind of thing. And I think that with the arts, I've always been inspired by the arts, and I've always worked with fine art students, and they tend not to think in the box. So that is just thrilling for me to still have some kind of connection with students with the arts. I mean, and Charlotte has a wonderful arts community as well. I have season tickets to the Blumenthal Theater, and we go down to see music and hear music and see theater all the time, and now the theater is back open. That's a great thing too. But it's nice to be able to continue the things about my job that I like, because I wanted to do some volunteering when I was when I chose to retire. But I also want to be able to do a lot of things that I haven't had the opportunity to do before. And I do a lot of fitness as well. I've probably taken every single class they offer at one time or another here and in the fitness center, because I'm literally in the club every day. I think maybe 6 out of 7 days I'm in the club doing something. So I think that's a nice opportunity as well. So retirement will look different for all of us, but the true thing is, like Ben says, you do what you want to do and you just choose to enjoy it. And a lot of people may not know what that is yet, because for 40 years they've been doing what they had to do. And that's a transition, adjusting to doing what you want to do, because you're like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. I can do whatever I want. So it's an adjustment.
Hey, I appreciate that perspective. I'm going to give you guys just a couple minutes. There's a question I'm going to have us end with, because we're about 10 minutes out, and we do have some more Q&A in chat that I'll touch on here in a second. But I would like to get from each of Kevin and Sue and Juanita, if you could talk to yourself in the time when you were evaluating this decision, and you all talk to people regularly who are kind of considering this. What is the kind of what have you learned? Looking in the rearview mirror that you wish you would have known then. What strikes you as something that would be really important to share with people who are at an earlier point in the journey than you are. And while you think about that, which you probably already have great answers, so you don't need to think about it much, I am seeing some questions coming here that I think would be really great for us to answer, which is one that came in is, how do clubs get formed? So a bunch of ways, but the most frequent is we have in each one of our communities a full-time lifestyle director. So that's a person whose role is to essentially kind of facilitate all the things that go into bringing the communities to life. So that's a combination of like setting up events and also working with members to help establish their interest groups, clubs, philanthropy projects, et cetera. So most frequently what they would do is say, hey, look, I'm really interested in starting, I don't know, I said cribbage earlier. So let's say I was into cribbage and there wasn't a cribbage club, going up there, and then we do newsletters each week to the community where our lifestyle director might say, hey, look, we have interest in starting a cribbage club. And then it would just kind of build its momentum from there. And here's how it's starting. And then it's all facilitated through, a combination of however the club leaders choose to do it. But then there's a bunch of tools within mytrilogylife.com that they can use. So it's user-friendly, they can invite people, et cetera. There was a question about singles. Juanita and her husband are there, and obviously Kevin and Sue are married. This is not my official Trilogy answers. I don't know it exactly, but my hunch, and Cassidy might know it exactly, is probably 15 to 20% of our communities are single. I think that there's probably 60% that are, married but highly independent. The experience they have is very much their own experience. They share part of their lives with their partner, but they experience a lot of the Trilogy community just doing the things they individually enjoy doing and exploring kind of different endeavors. And then of course there's, kind of the couples that do, most everything together. So it's a spectrum, and maybe Sue, I can see you nodding your head to that answer. That's probably about right. Would you guess?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and Shauna, who's on with Cassidy, just confirmed, yeah, about 20% at our locations are unmarried. Oh yeah, Juanita, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I would also say that I know here we have a group called Going Solo, and it's just a group of singles that actually get together regularly and they do events together. So there may be a club at some of the different locations that deal specifically with singles.
Yeah, I think that is pretty common, actually, since you bring it up, Juanita. There's always some version of, soloists or however they kind of choose to be, which is great. I'm getting a couple questions here about, okay, so, oh, this is good. We'll give you the hard version questions. There are questions about specific amenities within each of the communities, which obviously I can't do the full rundown on this call. I would encourage you, if you go to either shayhomes.com/trilogy and search the community you're interested in, there is a very detailed amenity list. Is golf on site or nearby? Do we have a restaurant? Do we have multiple restaurants? Pickleball courts, tennis courts, et cetera. Like that's all on there. So I would encourage people to go to shayhomes.com/trilogy. And then that kind of next level of peeling the onion would be to go on to, in addition to that, go on to mytrilogylife.com, request guest access into the community you're specifically interested in. And then you can see, oh, hey, look, I know there's a golf course nearby. Is there a golf group for me within that community, for example? And some, by the way, I'm saying golf course nearby. Some of the communities have golf, some don't, and golf's just an easy example of that. But fill in whatever activity you're into, right? Let me see if I've got a couple other here. So Kevin and Sue, but Kevin, you gave me, when we did our prep, you had some really good thoughts on this. So I hope you share those again. There is just a question about like, hey, it's an investment to live in Trilogy. You invest in the home itself. You invest in, you have an association that kind of maintains the whole community. You invest in the club amenities. How do you feel your return is on that? Are you happy with, what you've spent to be a part of this compared to what you would otherwise? So I'm going to ask you to add that into layer your question, and then I'm going to do one more little run through. Cassidy, I think you're on. I tried to get through these. Is there anything else that I may have missed here that would be good to answer before we turn it over to Juanita, Sue, and Kevin?
Nope, you got them.
Okay, that's awesome.
Good
So
work.
I'm going to go Kevin, Juanita, and then Sue, you're going to close the show. How's that?
All right.
Yeah.
Always out in front.
There you go. All right, go ahead, Kev. Talk. What would you, if you had a time machine, you go back and talk to you, what would you tell you?
I would say that there's no need to hesitate to do this. I know a lot of the viewers are probably at that crossroads and they've got a lot to think about. And as we know, moving is one of the biggest changes a person can experience in their life. But I would say don't hesitate, do it one step at a time, you'll get there. There's all kinds of resources there to help you along the way. And when you do land in one of our communities, you're going to find people that, I mean, they're not going to literally hold your hand, but well, they might, I don't know, but you're going to meet a bunch of wonderful people in the same station of life. So looking back, if you wait 10 years, you're going to wonder, gosh, why didn't I do this 8 years ago or whatever. So my biggest thing is not to hesitate. And Ben, you said you wanted me to talk about the return on investment.
Yeah, you don't regret the check each month, do you?
No.
You don't regret what you spend each month. You're happy with what
no, absolutely. Both, especially with this housing market, we moved in 6 years ago. So the investment on the home, I'm in done very well. But we're not going anywhere anyways. But as far as what we pay for our homeowner association dues and what we get back for that, it's just, I mean, just curiosity. I've looked at other communities and there's just no comparison for the bang for your buck compared to here. And, we've limited our conversation to member-led clubs. I've talked, and Juanita talked a little bit about what she's done out in the community that other people in the community might be involved with as well. But we haven't talked a lot, and I won't stay on it, but I just want to highlight the events, and Ben mentioned our lifestyle coordinator. In addition to the clubs, they have continuous activities for us to do. I think Ben highlighted that we have our mystery dinner night tonight. We've got a concert on the lawn tomorrow, and then we've got our happier hours that we have that you get together with your friends. We do trivia nights. They've recently had a comedian come in. So in addition to the clubs, there's also all these events that happen as well.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you highlighting those. Yeah, it's like a dry dock cruise, hopefully. So with longer relationships. All right, Juanita, I'm going to go to you, and then we'll close it out with Sue.
Okay, well, I do want to add something to the return on your investment. My husband is a CPA with an MBA in finance. If there wasn't a good return on the investment, we would not be living here. Say that first. Okay. But I guess I would say to anyone, as I said to myself, that you don't want to be a bystander in your own retirement. You don't want to be the person just looking at other people or taking the pictures of other people doing things. You want to be in the picture doing the things. And so I would say to myself or to anyone, I said, just try something new or different, or reacquaint yourself with something that you used to enjoy, and do something like that every week. Sometimes it'll be uncomfortable, but most of the times it'll be rewarding. It will be interesting. You'll meet a lot of different people, and you'll have a community within the community when you do that. So that's what I would say.
Oh, that's a very nice way to phrase it, Juanita. And I'm glad that, yes, you and your husband have been happy on the way you've chosen to spend your time and money. Sue?
Yes, I would like to say that living in this community has been a godsend for us. The people here are just very friendly and welcoming and warm. And everybody's at the same stage in life, so you all have something in common right away.
Okay. Oh, Sue, I wish I could give you a big hug. All right, look, I think that's enough. So well, I'm a true believer. We're all kind of true believers in what we're doing. And Sue, I've been so happy that Cassidy introduced us, and you as well, Juanita. Every time I go out and meet people, I'm just so blown away. So thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for sharing your time. Those of you who are considering, moving's hard. There's a bunch of reasons why not to. There's a bunch of reasons to keep doing what you're already doing. Everybody's got to pave their own trail, right? We don't mean to force you into a decision you want to make, but if you're seriously considering this kind of change in your life, there should be nothing to hold you back. And just as they said, the juice is worth the squeeze. It'll take a little work, but what's on the other side can be really great. So Sue, big hugs. Kevin, firm handshake. Juanita, hugs to you. And you all be good, okay? And anybody who's on the chat or watching in, if you have questions, again, go to the websites, reach out. Cassidy and I will stay on and do some more chatting here for a little while. Thank you.